Hello, everyone. I am Jaric Rubel, and welcome into a Thursday edition of Royal Bettors. I'm going to be riding solo today. Jake's away. He's busy. So I will be taking care of things for today's show by myself. And I've never done a show exactly by myself before. So this will be kind of a first time for me trying to, handle things here by myself without a, co-host to talk with. So, you know, we're going to do things like normal. We're going to go through the card for today. And then after that, we'll get to props, we'll get to DFS, and we'll get to best bets. Now, if you like what you hear throughout the show, please follow me on Twitter at Jaric_Rubel11. Follow the show at Royal Bettors. Follow Jake too. He's not here today, but he's here pretty much every other day at Jake Elder19. It would mean the world to us as we grow this thing. If you could, follow the Twitter, or I said follow the Twitter. If you could subscribe to the YouTube channel and, give us a like, thumbs up there, comment, just be active. We appreciate it. You got Nick Erlin here. He said, good luck and may the force be with you. I appreciate that, buddy. Like I said, I was going to ask you, Terry, and some of the gang to hop on here and maybe do this with me, but I wanted to give myself a go here by myself because why not? Try and get used to this. I feel like this won't be the first time that it's going to happen for me, and I have a feeling it's going to happen for Jake at some point too. So before we get into today's card, we'll talk about my O for day yesterday. It's the third O for day I've had this year. Like, that's not good. We're 3 weeks in. It's like one a week. And like, it is what it is, man. Like, I'm not going to give up. Like, we got plenty of season left. And, as more and more things here start to kind of shake out, I think you're going to see a lot of these dog teams that have been winning here early on really start to fade out. And I stick to what I had bet last year. Like, I've seen people who I kind of looked through Twitter and people had a big up year and then they were down and then they're up again. So, I mean, I know that that's how gambling works. Like, it is what it is. And of course, like, the bad start just has to be one. I start a show with my best friend. So that's that. Nick's back. He said lots of landmines yesterday. Yeah, man. I even thought there'd be a lot of goals. And besides the Philly game, I mean, everything was under. So, yeah, yesterday I lost. Oilers in regulation was my best bet. Koskinen failed me there. So, I mean, that goes to show some of my goaltending numbers here against specific teams doesn't exactly work. Same with Bobrovsky. So, he was horrible against the Bruins his whole career, and Florida comes out of there just allowing one goal. So, that was unfortunate there. So, we don't catch the Bruins team total or the money line. And then Mantha failed to score a goal, and Detroit upset Washington, which I kind of felt was going to happen, but I thought Mantha would still get one against his former team. So, that was yesterday, 0 for 4. It is what it is. Jake cashed his one and only bet. He had both teams to score in the first period, Philly and Vancouver. So that was also his best bet. So he improves there. I should probably put the banner up. There you go. See my awful record. And yeah, I guess we could hop into today's slate of games. Tim, he says Buffalo for the cup. I respect the energy, man. I'm sorry that I'm going to fade him when we get to him today. But, maybe they get a haul for Eichel, and all of a sudden they're a decent contender. Like, who knows what they get? Only time will tell. So we'll hop in. Oh, hit the wrong thing there. We're still learning. I'm doing this on my phone. It's kind of interesting. But we'll hop into the first game here of today's slate. We got Arizona at Tampa Bay. Arizona plus 260 road dogs taking on the Bolts minus 340 home favorites. Over under 5.5 shaded to the over. Now, I got to look Tampa Bay on the puck line here, right? Arizona's only covered the plus 1.5 once, and that was against the Buffalo Sabres in that second game of the year. I mean, Arizona doesn't stand a chance against Vasilevsky. Let's be real here. I mean, Tampa seemed to find their groove against Pittsburgh. I don't want to think too hard about this one, to be honest. Like, this is a pretty straightforward game for me. Yotes are starting a backup in a non-back-to-back against the Lightning. Like, they just want to get out of here. They want to head home. Tampa Bay by 2. Keep it at that, minus 110. Bolts, minus 1.5, minus 110. That's what today's going to be on that one. Only play here for Nick. He's chiming in. Is Tampa Bay minus 1.5 as well? Arizona is trash enough said. Yeah, like I've been preaching on the show. I'm pretty sure in 60 of their games they're going to get puck lined. Like, this team might be worse than that Avalanche team we saw in 2016-17. Like, they're that bad. So, Tampa Bay 1.5 there for me. Nick also agrees there with that. Boston at Carolina. Boston plus 115 road dogs here. Carolina minus 135 home favorites. Over under 5.5 shaded to the over. This isn't going to be an official play, but I do lean Carolina here. I think they're the more complete team out of the two. Swayman versus Anderson will be the goaltending matchup. Boston just can't seem to find the back of the net consistently right now to me. Like their best players were not their best players at all yesterday in a spot that I thought was very, luxurious for the Bruins. I mean, I have no interest in backing Boston here for a little bit. They're just not a team that screams consistency in any kind of way. So Canes are pass here for me, but I don't want to put it on my card. Just kind of worried about it. So chugging along here through the early slate of games, Calgary and Pittsburgh. This is a minus 110 pick 'em now, and the over-under is 5.5 shaded to the over. Calgary's just been an absolute wagon on this road trip in the first period. 2 goals in the first period against Detroit and the Rangers, 3 goals against Washington, 4 against the Devils. The tie no bet here in the first period's plus 100 for the Flames. It's like even if they come out of there with a draw, you push. And at that value, like 100% sign me up because I was over here looking for maybe the Flames to come out of the first period with the lead. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to play it safe here. We'll take the regular first period money line plus 100. I mean, I'd be shocked if Pittsburgh did much here. I don't care that it's the last game of a road trip for Calgary. They're rolling right now, and I don't think they want that to stop because they know they got to get ahead of the 8 ball here because they were a team that many people did not, think were going to make much noise throughout this season. So, I mean, aside from that, Blackhawks game Pittsburgh played, they potted 4 goals in the first 5 minutes there. Other than that, they've had 1 first period goal throughout the whole season. So give me the Flames first period money line here, plus 100. And we have Nick again here chiming in. He's like Calgary money line and the over 5.5. Yeah, I saw it. I'm pretty sure it opened at 6. So the fact that it went down to 5.5 and the value's there too, it's not like super juiced. Like anybody could hop on that for me. I will not question you there. Colorado, St. Louis. This is an interesting one here, if you ask me. Colorado, minus 130 road favorites. Blues plus 105 home dogs. Shaded to the over. The total's at 6. Give me the over here and give me the Blues. I mean, Colorado couldn't defend a team of former NHLers, pylon cones. I don't care. But when I've watched the Avs, I mean, everybody blows by them. Cale Makar's struggling so bad 5-on-5. The poor man, it's not exactly his fault 'cause he's missing Girard. He's missing Devontae, who's really big. Ryan Graves isn't there anymore, who was a big, sizable man on defense. Who I mean, I'm a big proponent of having size on defense over skill. That's just me. Like you could have skilled size guys like Victor Hedman, Brent Burns, stuff like that, but like Cale Makar is not exactly a 1A if you ask me. So I mean, he's just 5-on-5. He's a -9 on the season, and like I said, without Girard and Taze, that obviously doesn't do him much help. I just don't see Colorado slowing down the Blues here. I do see them keeping up with them in the goals department. I mean, these two teams went over in St. Louis every year or every game last year except one. The over was 6-1 down at Enterprise Center. Give me the Blues money line here, plus 105. Give me the over 6 at -115. Colorado can't stop this Blues attack. The defense is just too bad for me. Like I said, was super tempted to bet the Blues money line, but never got to the window on this one. Yeah, I mean, I still think they're worth betting on now, even with O'Reilly out. Rantanen's a game time decision here for the Avalanche. So, I mean, there's definitely some reason here to like St. Louis if you're still on the fence. I mean, losing Rantanen too. I mean, Colorado just didn't do much against Vegas. I mean, the offense, 1 goal against Florida. I mean, we've seen against these really upper echelon teams so far, Colorado hasn't been themselves an upper echelon team like they're supposed to be. So here, I just like the Blues plus 105. And I think the over will hit here. I think even at 6. I mean, I'll be reluctant to take a push. I do think he gets over that number. So yeah, Blues money line plus 105 and the over -115 for me. And again, as we get halfway through this card here, I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. I've seen we got up to 3 or 4 live viewers here at a time, and I appreciate that because, I'll take anything as we try and grow this thing. I'll be happy with 100 subscribers by the time the spring rolls around. And again, just follow us. Jake's not here, but follow him on Twitter at JakeElder19, myself at Jaric rubel11. You can see here, where's my finger? Right over there. You can see at Jaric_rubel11. At Royal Bettors is the official Twitter. We tweet out our picks every day. Retweet them on the Royal Bettors page. We tweet out when we're going live. And just subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us all the support in the world because this is something I personally, even if it's not betting, I still want to work in hockey to some degree. Like my dream's to do play-by-play, like Doc Emmerich and Pat Foley, like those guys are my idols. So, I didn't grow up exactly watching hockey, but I did. I started watching the Hawks in 2013, and yeah, I mean maybe it was a weird time to start cheering for them because they were really good. So it seems like a bandwagon. But I had family that was big into them, and I started getting into sports more. So I just kind of leaned with hockey because I thought it was a super exciting sport. So yeah, I just appreciate all the support in the world that you guys could give me and Jake as we try and progress through this hockey season and improve these records here because 1946-2 is by far the worst thing I've ever had betting in my entire life. Like it's never been that bad. And what I will say is, I think I mentioned this yesterday. I was down, or I was up like 30 units at one point last year. I almost got down to negative around end of March. And then I built it back up and I was plus 34 units at the end of the year. So it's like these slumps don't last forever and I could really rebound big time off it. So, I mean, again, it's only October. So that's the little brief intermission I gave you guys there between breaking down, this thick card. We got 4 games left to talk about. Minnesota at the Seattle Kraken here. Minnesota and Seattle both minus 110. This one's a pick 'em. Over under 5.5, shaded to the over. Now, Minnesota is dealing with some COVID issues, nothing too major. They're perfect so far on the road this season. The Wild are. They finally scored the first goal in a game against the Vancouver Canucks the other night. This is a spot where the first period over makes sense, but I see it minus 130, minus 135, and I just don't want to touch it. I'm going to be honest. And I already have a lot on my card. So I'm just going to kind of leave that one off. I do lean towards it. I mean, both to score in period one makes sense here because Minnesota, they've gotten behind the 8 ball a lot here in the first period, and Seattle, they're top 3 in goals allowed in the first period. So I think, both teams probably do get on the scoreboard. I just don't think I want to add anything from this game to my card because of the amount that I have on it. Like, that makes sense. Like, I don't want to bet too much. I already bet a lot. So pass on that one for me all around. I do think both teams will probably get a goal in the first period. That is what it is there. Buffalo and Anaheim. This is an interesting one here. Buffalo plus 115, Anaheim minus 135. Over-unders minus 110 both ways on the 5.5 total. I like the first period over here, minus 115. We've seen both of these teams cash in early and give up a lot of goals. Ducks are 5-2 to the first period over. Buffalo's 4-2. Ducks have scored 8 and given up 7 in the first period. The Sabres have scored 5 and given up 6 in the first. I do think we get some action here early in this one. I also like the Ducks to get it done. Minus 135 on the money line. Buffalo did lose their one and only road game. It was kind of a snooze fest. But the angle here I'm looking at for Anaheim is Craig Anderson's been around since I was in diapers pretty much. Like, he's only won 3 games against Anaheim in his whole career. That to me, like, the Sabres aren't a good team. Like, maybe they are. Like, it's a hard debate, to be honest, at this point of the season. But I'm willing to back him or fade him on a cross-country trip here. Anderson, again, only 3 wins across almost 20 games against Anaheim. I mean, he's been around, like I said, for such a long time. So, yeah, give me the Ducks money line. Give me the first period over in this one. 2 plays on such an awful, awful game, to be honest. I can't believe I'm doing it, but I am doing it. Nick here, he's also on the first period over and Anaheim money line, so we're both liking the same thing here. Tim, go Bulls tonight. Yes, I am, fair. I will say I'm a fair weather Bulls fan. Basketball isn't really my thing, but I am going to kind of cheer on for the Bulls because I like when Chicago teams do well, obviously. And they're probably, I mean, they rank 4th out of the 4 teams for me. I don't count the White Sox as one because I'm a Cub fan. I mean, I would honestly rank it as much as I shouldn't be cheering for the Blackhawks right now. They still are number 1. Bears 2, Cubs 3. That does kind of alternate because it just depends what kind of mood I'm in. I really do enjoy both of those sports. And Tim also, and the Bulls dead last, sadly, but I am going to support them in their run for the playoff run this year. Tim, Buffalo. You know what, man? You could back Buffalo all 82 games this year. You could do that and let me know your ROI. Got it? Got it. All right. We got a couple games left here. 3 more. Sorry, I said 4 more when I went through, the other thing. So now we did 2. We got 3 more. So there's 5 left. Caught myself there. All right. So Philadelphia and Vancouver. Philadelphia here plus 115 road dogs. Now we did see this game as a pick 'em when it opened up. Vancouver minus 140 home favorites. Over under 6 shaded to the over. Flyers are on a back-to-back here, which means Martin Jones. He did win against the Boston Bruins, but that's because the Flyers offense has all the capability in the world. You got to take the over here at 6. I mean, it's minus 115. I almost said minus 130 there because I do lean the first period over, but I'm not going to do it. That's minus 130. I cashed the over in the first meeting between these two teams this season. It finished 5-4. Every Flyers game has gone over, and every other Canucks game has gone over, and their last game went under. So, I mean, if you want to kind of follow that little small trend, this game is due to go over. So give me goals here in Philadelphia, Vancouver. Halak versus Martin Jones is the expected goaltending matchup. And yeah, just let there be goals. Both of these teams have all the offensive capability in the world. And I mean, both the score in the first period here probably isn't a bad look either, the way I think about it, because Philadelphia, they haven't allowed the most goals in the first period. They score a ton. And Martin Jones in that first period against Boston wasn't exactly the best. So I wouldn't be surprised if both teams cash there. I mean, if you want to dabble on that minus 130 first period over, I won't talk you out of it. But yeah, I want the over here straight up minus 115 in Philadelphia, Vancouver. Again, over 6 minus 115. Montreal and San Jose. Now, this is an interesting angle here. And our friend Terry Edelman, I don't think he's tuning in, but he gave me a good stat here in a group chat I'm in with the Earl brothers who are hanging out in this group or in the chat here today. The Habs have not won in the Shark Tank since 1999. Wow. Like, I wasn't even around at that time. I wasn't even on planet Earth. Like, I have no interest in backing the Habs here in that situation. I think Timo Meier's going to keep up the nice run of goal scoring. Aiden Hill, he played Montreal earlier this year. He shut him out. Sharks won that game 5-0. I mentioned last game he shut out Nashville. I mean, a couple seasons ago when he was with the Yotes, but they ended up not starting him, so he's on a little bit of rest here. Sharks, I mean, those first home games tend to be a trap game, but after a long road trip historically for them, but I don't care. The Sharks just take it to Montreal every time. Montreal's not scored more than 2 goals since I've started watching hockey when they went to San Jose. So I like the Sharks money line here, minus 130, and the Habs team total under 2.5. I'm finally dabbling on it, plus 105. If the Habs team total fails me here, I'm going to be honestly upset because I've waited so long to strike at this. I think this is the right spot to do it. And if I'm wrong, I'll be damned, man. I really, really will. So again, Sharks minus 130 on the money line. Habs team total under 2.5, plus 105. We got one last game to talk about here on this Thursday card before we get into props and daily fantasy, and that's Winnipeg and LA. Winnipeg minus 115 and Anaheim. LA minus 105. Over under 5.5 minus 110 both ways. I like the over in this one. I think 5.5 is a very generous number for this game. Besides the very first Jets game against the Ducks, which ended 4-1, all the games have gone over 5.5 for Winnipeg. Hellebuck's not going to get the start tonight. It's going to be Eric Comrie, and Hellebuck's numbers really are not that good against the LA Kings, and I think that could be a reason why. He's 3-4 with the goals against over 3.2. So I think I think Maurice definitely takes that into account. And Hellebuck's he's going to start 60-plus games this year. I don't really see him splitting the workload with Comrie that much at all. So this is a spot where he's going to get the night off. Quick is going to go as well for the LA Kings against the Winnipeg Jets. And his numbers, I don't have him exactly pulled up, but I was looking at him last night thinking he might start. They were up, the goals against was up near 3. So that really made me like the over in this one. I mean, I think we're going to see some goals. Winnipeg struck offensively a ton. LA at home, they seem to get off to a decent start. So give me the LA Kings, Winnipeg Jets over 5.5 minus 110 to close out this Thursday card. Thank you all for tuning in so far. We're about 20 minutes in. I've been carrying this by myself. I think I'm doing an all right job. I don't think I'm, stuttering over myself too much. I think I'm explaining these games pretty well, even though I have no one to converse with. And that being said, we got 2 more segments here to talk over before we get the best bets and props. Let's discuss some props here because there's some interesting prices here in the point department. I don't understand it. It's like, do they not? I mean, DraftKings literally has a daily fantasy app. Do they not understand who's hot and who's not in terms of fantasy? Like, I don't know. Anyways, Andrew Mangiapane, anytime goal scorer, plus 220, and over half a point, plus 105. the fact that he's plus money for over half a point, you kidding me? He's up there with Ovechkin for the league leading goals. He's registered a point every game. This is, I'd say, the hottest player in the NHL right now. If you don't have him in any lineups, goal scoring props, point props, like, get on it. Like, Andrew Mangiapane and Jarry's not going for Pittsburgh either. Jarry's been the guy who has been really good for Pittsburgh throughout the regular season with that insane record through his last 30 games. And of course, he took the loss last time out. But I don't really like Casey DeSmith a whole lot. Flames in that first period have been tremendous. I think Mangiapane is going to keep it rolling here tonight. And even if we don't catch the goal prop, I definitely think that point prop will come through. Because, I mean, that's been the best line over this last week so far, if you ask me. So that in that game, Mangiapane, anytime goal scorer plus 220, over half a point plus 105. St. Louis, Colorado, I like Ivan Barbashev to score a goal plus 450. He didn't score in the first game against Colorado, but with the COVID issues here going on for the Blues, he's going to get bumped up again in the lineup, and I think he'll come through here because he's been on a real red-hot pace to start the year. He's had a point in every game so far. And plus 450 is great value. I mean, I do think we see a lot of goals in this one. And even if he doesn't come through, like, I mean, a plus 450 goal scorer for a guy who's on a point streak the way he is, count me in. I got a few props here in this Vancouver and Philadelphia game. Garland anytime goal scorer plus 255. I think this is an opportunity here where he finally gets the strike. I know a lot of people have been on him these last couple nights, and he hasn't exactly come through. But here, I think he will. Martin Jones in that. I definitely see this being like a 4-3 game, back and forth. I think it's worth a flyer here on Garland. And then Atkinson and Drew are plus 245. Like, I mean, the fact that these guys are still plus 245 with the way they've been playing, these are like the main two guys scoring for the Flyers. They should be plus, 150, plus 170, the way, Forsberg is. And San Jose, Meyer and Hurdle, they're like plus 150. So, I mean, the line there for Giroux and Atkinson to score a goal just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. And I've been betting them a lot here throughout the season. And I got to keep riding it here in a game I expect goals. And then Atkinson over half a point plus 105. Like, that one's got to be a lock too. Like, Atkinson's been the best Philadelphia Flyer so far this season. And again, I expect goals. I think he gets on the score sheet plus 105. Like, you're giving me plus money for the best Philadelphia Flyer to get on the score sheet. Like, come on. What DraftKings? What are you doing? What are you doing? Pierre-Luc Dubois, his point streak, I believe, just ended the other night, but I like his matchup here against the LA Kings. He's still on that top line. And minus 105 just for him to get over half a point. I believe he will. I expect goals in that game as well. I think it's worth I wouldn't even call that a flyer here. I think he is going to get a point. Playing with Kyle Connor, anybody could, rack up points playing with that guy. And lastly, Timo Meier, anytime goal scorer, plus 190. He's got 5 goals in his last 6 games. I think he's just going to keep that up here in a spot where I have nothing to do with the Montreal Canadiens. So Timo Meier plus 190 to score a goal. And that'll be it for props. We'll head on over here to DFS before we wrap up today's show and get the best bets. My lineup consists of Sebastian Aho, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Timo Meier, Andrew Mangiapane, Alex Killorn, who has goals in back-to-back games. And I didn't talk about Aho while I have him. Kind of like how Jake mentioned with Montreal, I think Boston's missing Krejci. And I think, Aho and Carolina's got that center depth to where, it's not going to be Bergeron matched up there with them all the time. I think Aho is definitely going to get some opportunities here tonight against this Boston team here where they're really missing their defensive forwards to an extent. They got some injuries up front too. Charlie Coyle is going to be that second-line center. So, we'll see what kind of defensive presence they have against Aho, but I think he could be an issue for Boston tonight. All right, Robert Haig on defense. This guy, he had a goal when Buffalo beat Tampa 5-1. He had 24 fantasy points. This guy has 2,700 points. Now, it's not exactly favorable with him going up against Anaheim, but I do need a cheap defenseman here with the way I built this lineup. He's been super consistent in terms of putting up at least 8 points a game fantasy-wise. And at that value, I don't consider that bad from a defenseman. If he gets an assist, good for him. He's going to get block shots 100%. He'd get a couple shots on goal. We've seen that from him so far this season. But then Justin Falk's my other defenseman. We saw him torch the Colorado Avalanche. 5 shots, goal assist in that first game. I think he'll get back to that form again here tonight. And, I think he's been the best Blues defenseman so far this season. I've had him in my lineups a few times. In that Aiden Hill, as I mentioned, I don't want anything to do with Montreal tonight with their, trending ever so slightly, not that sarcasm, but downward trend against the San Jose Sharks out west, and Aiden Hill shut them out in their last time. So I'm going to take Aiden Hill here to just kind of keep riding that wave against the Montreal Canadiens for the Sharks. And then, like I mentioned in the prop department, I like Barbashev here tonight, getting bumped up against the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities to score. And that Avalanche defense has just been so brutal. I want nothing to do with them. Yeah. And again, that schedule will probably, easy out for them. And it'll be some spots to back Colorado here as they get healthier and, figure things out. I mean, November, I think it'll start to get a little more chalky here. We won't see these underdogs upsetting as much as we have so far. But that's the DFS segment. Again, Aho, Dubois, Meyer, Mangiapane, Killorn, Haig, Falk, Hill, and Barbashev. So that's the DFS lineup. We'll get the best bets here. My best bet for the night is going to be the Winnipeg Jets and LA Kings over 5.5 minus 110. I think there's going to be plenty of goals in that one. I expect fireworks. The goaltending matchup favors it. The numbers favor it. Give me Winnipeg and LA over 5.5. I think it's a generous number. So thanks everybody for tuned in live. Nick, Tim, anybody else who might have, chimed in. I didn't see anyone else comment, but I did see some other people, hopping in with the viewer count. So I do appreciate that. It's my first ever time doing a show solo. So thanks everybody for if you made it this far in the video. Again, those people who watched it live. I appreciate all the support here you guys have given to Royal Bettors. I know some people have said that this is part of, their daily routine. So that makes me feel good. I know that people like listening to us, and that makes me want to keep doing this despite the awful record. So again, the best bet for tonight, Winnipeg, LA over 5.5. I'll give you a quick rundown of the rest of my card again, just to let y'all know. Tampa Bay minus 1.5, Calgary first period money line plus 100, the Blues money line plus 105, over 6 minus 115, Buffalo Anaheim first period over minus 115, Ducks money line minus 135, Philadelphia Vancouver over 6 minus 115, San Jose money line minus 130, Habs team total under 2.5 plus 105, and the best bet, Jets and Kings over 5.5. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Royal Bettors. We'd appreciate that. Jake, again, will be with us tomorrow. We'll be live at 9 a.m. to break down the Friday card. Follow me on Twitter at Jaric_rubel11. Follow the show at Royal Bettors. We'll tweet out our picks and when the show goes live every single day. So be sure to follow us there so you don't miss out. If you can't watch the show, all of the picks will be found there. Again, I've been Jaric Rubel. Jake will be here back with me tomorrow, 9 a.m. as we break down the Friday NHL card. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Let's turn this baby around here, one step at a time. We got a massive card here tonight. I'm either going to look like a genius or I'm probably going to look like a fool. And if I go 500, then so be it. Thanks again, everybody. We'll be live with you again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time for another edition of Royal Bettors. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.